Alright, welcome back. So what are we doing today? What is the point of this follow-up video? Well, today I'm going to show you some stuff to take your model that we made in our last video and take it to another level. So first we're going to take his loincloth and his crest ears and the wings on his pauldron, and we're going to get them almost black. We're going to do this by mixing out a half black, half dark red combination, and we're going to go over all of it so that it's nice and uniform and dark. So you're going to have to probably do more than one coat. I want to say I ended up with about 3 thin coats for the loincloth and probably 2 thin coats for the ears and wings by the end of it. Just keep going until it's uniformed and it's all one dark color. We're not going to repaint anything by taking it all the way back to prime. We're just going to kind of make what we started with at the end of our last video work as we move forward. Keep your layers thin, go slow. Alright, so for our first highlights, touch of purple to our previous mixture, and we're going to build up our first couple of highlights. Now the idea here is to keep the lowest points as dark as we can, because we're going to have them almost black by the time we're done. So as you go over the loincloth, try to keep in mind where the folds are. For this step, just go ahead and have wide highlights. Just make sure that you're leaving as much of that down area as you can, and we will get thinner and thinner with everything as we go. Because our end goal is so dark in the bottom, this purple mixture will help us a lot with bringing that out. Just like most of the layers in this project, you're going to have to do a few. Once you're happy with it, you can go to the next step. Okay, so normally I would try to give you 1-to-1 highlights, like one part this, one part that. That's not going to work here. So what you're going to have to do is take a small dab of the previous mixture, and you're going to mix it with probably 90-10 with the base red from this Triad, Encarmine Red. And you're going to go over and you'll do pretty much the exact same highlights you did before. We're going to be a little bit thinner this time, and when we get to the wings on the head, we're only going to do the thicker parts that represent the bones. And we're only going to do about the middle and maybe a little bit of the upper of the wing. It will take a couple of coats, even though when it goes on it looks very vibrant. When it dries it will not be. And you're slowly going to work your way up, probably a coat or two, and then you're going to do just Encarmine Red. Once you're happy with that, we'll go to the next step. You might have guessed, but next we're going to do the same with Pure Red. This time we want a little bit of the Encarmine Red and we want a little bit of the Pure Red, and we're just going to continue doing this. Unfortunately, this is hard way class. There is no easy shortcut for this. Do the layers thin, make sure that you just go over them until you're happy with them. You'll notice a really distinct pop between the top and the bottom as we get closer to this. If you make a mistake or they're too thin or they're too thick, don't worry too much about it. This is going to be a lot of organic back and forth to get this to our final stage. So now we're going to do mostly Archcngel Red with a little bit of the Pure Red. Even though it's called Archcngel Red, it very clearly is an orange. I've switched down to a smaller brush for this part, which is challenging because the brush can't hold either the moisture or the paint as well, but it is also much easier to get thinner lines. Now from this point forward, we're going to be really focusing on the highest points. Essentially what you're going to do is you're going to decide in your mind where your high points are going to be. If you're going to follow this tutorial exactly as I've done it, we're going to make the center points of this black and only have a very few, very specific, very bright highlights. And the way that we're going to do that and make sure that it looks naturally is we're going to build all those highlights up individually. This is a great time to practice tapping or feathering. This is a good time to practice edge highlighting. All of those skills that you've learned and all the various basics that you've ever done, this is a great time to put them to use. When you get to the wings, focus on the curve of the wing that touches into the skull and the tips of the wing bones. Don't do anything with the middle or lower bones at this point. Let them be dark. So now we get it ready to go super highlight. We're going to use pure Archcngel Red. We may even dab in a little bit of clear orange. We're going to go ahead and put this, we're going to focus on all the tips where 2 or 3 pieces of cloth meet. We're also going to focus on our highest edges. And what I'm doing now is I'm deciding as I'm going what of these edges is going to be visible in the final product. With most of that laid out, we're actually going to go and get Flash Gets Yellow, which is usually not a great color to work with, especially not with a brush, but because we've got so many such high points of bright orange, it should go right over it. And because it doesn't cover great, you'll have to do a couple layers, but this will also keep it from getting too visible and give you a lot of control of it. Once you have your yellow in, use your orange and red to thin them up so it's just the tips, and then we're going to go to our first wash. So we're going to make up a wash that is half Glaze Meduim and half Carenberg Crimson from Citadel. And unlike a normal wash, what we're going to do with this is we're actually going to paint it into all but the very highest highlights all throughout our cloak and our other bits. This is absolutely going to take a few coats, but if it's good and thin, they should be roughly dry by the time you get done all the other spots. I think I did this 4 times to really get it smoothed out the way that I wanted and deeper in the recess. Alright, so now we've gone in and we've added 1 part null oil. So we have 50-50 null oil, crimson, and 2 parts of glaze, and we're basically just going to do it again. And we're going to do this again in the same idea. We're going to keep trying to aim only for the darkest points. We're also going to start to put a little bit of shade in between where we want to start looking at breaking up the lines. So for example, if the line is from 2 high points and the line in between the high points is very bright, I might start putting this shade in between those lines, because eventually I'm going to make a break between them to show the darkness of this. Alright, and here's what we've been building up to. So we're going to take a small amount of dead black and add it to our wash mix. And now we're going to go in and we're going to manually put the shadows and the black right into those crevices. We're going to use this to thin up all of the other highlights that we have that might still be too bright. We're going to use it to break up any long chains of highlight so that there's only pops of color coming out of this. Now we're going to probably do this 2, maybe 3 times depending on how well your coverage is going, and it's going to be shiny when you're done. Don't worry about that. Once we varnish it and give it a seal, it should all come back to matte. And that's it. Add the pop as you see fit to get where you want, and I've got a bonus for you. We're going to go over a nice efficient way to do lightning. The first thing we're going to do is pick a section. I'm going to choose to do his lower leg plate, and we're going to take Electirc Blue, and we're going to dry brush the section that I expect the lightning to be in. Now this is going to give me kind of an outline of where I'm going to be for this. Now we're going to take just straight Electirc Blue, thin down, and we're going to make long, thin lines. A couple of things to keep in mind here. Lightning always goes down. You cannot have any lightning that is going up. So keep pulling your brush downward. At this stage, just kind of get an outline of where you think you want your lightning to be. If you make some mistakes, which you will, it's fine. We have lots of techniques that we're going to use at a later step, so don't even try to fix it. Just run with it. If you've got multiple ways for the lightning to go because you've had a couple of mistakes, just try to figure out which ones you think are best. Remember that it arcs, and every time it arcs, the 2 pieces that touch will always be brighter, so leave a little extra paint there. Now mix 50-50 with cold white, and we're going to do the same thing. Now we need to focus a little bit more. So those places in between your starting point and your arc points where 2 pieces touch, try not to put much paint on those. You want to avoid those. You want to make sure you have a little bit of extra paint where they touch, and you want to have a little extra paint where they touch the ground, and a little bit of a line going to those touching points, but you should let it be thin in between those touching points. So lightning, everything about lightning sucks. We're going to go over to cold white. Let me tell you this, the most important thing to do, the most critical thing to do is make sure that your brush has the right amount of water to paint or thinner to paint. Make sure that your brush is not overloaded, and remember that where you pull your brush up from the model will deposit more paint than where you started. So at this point, our goal is we're going to make sure that all of those initial points, the top of the leg armor, where it connects with the base, where the 2 pieces of lightning connect, all of those sections have to be reinforced. We're going to use white to do this because we're going to clean it up too. So if you get a little messy here, it's still not the end of the world. Don't worry about it yet. At this point, don't even try to fix it. At least watch the rest of the video to see how I fixed this one, to make sure that what you did wrong requires you to stop what we're doing right now and actually fix it, because a lot of times you can make it work. Because of the nature of lightning, it's easy to kind of get away with whatever you want it to look like. Okay, real talk. Have you ever found a paint that you want to love, that looks like it would be perfect, and just everything about it is constantly so fucked up that you just can't justify using it? That's my relationship with Dead Sky. So why is it here, and why are we talking about it? Well, if you water Dead Sky down pretty good, about a glaze consistency, that a little bit waterier than 2% milk, it is a fantastic color to do two things for this model that there just isn't another color that can do. The first is for the lightning. What we're going to do is we are going to darken up all the areas that touch our dry brush so that they blend better, and we're going to take Dead Sky and we're going to paint over our mistakes, and we're going to use it to thin up and sharpen all of our white line. Now, you'll have to do it a couple of times, which is good because really think of this as an organic process. You don't need to come here with a template. You need to come here with a vision. And as you work with this paint, let it show you where to tighten up. If you've got a piece of lightning that's going upward, this will take care of it. If you've got a piece of lightning that's too fat, this will take care of it. This will help you get the thin, sharp lines you're looking for, and it doesn't take much actual effort. It does take some time though. So what's the other thing it can do? Well, the other thing this color can do is if you apply it like a glaze all over the blue armor, it will create a uniformed look and maintain a lot of that nice blue, but it'll give it a much deeper midnight look. I highly recommend it. I also did the gloves gauntlets in the same style that we did the loincloth, so we'll show you that now. So that's it. That's us done. Thank you so much for coming by. I hope that this was helpful. Remember, we are taking commissions as of now. We're also going to put a video out explaining what a commission looks like from both sides. Thank you so much and have a great day.